Welcome everyone to another Splash event, Single People Loving and Serving Him. I am one of your moderators for today, and my name is Kafian Allen. I am the board representative of Aruka Seventh-day Adventist Singles Ministry. And we are now about to get into the second part of our convention. Yesterday, we had a really lovely time as we dived into our conversation about, hey, Alexa, navigate Christian dating expectations. We dealt with the ego. We talked even to our communication and our expectations. Now, we know that communication and expectations and even the ego is something that causes a lot of issues in our relationships. But something that we fail to recognize from time to time, or probably we are afraid to talk about, is finances. Finances can rock a relationship. It can rock even you as an individual, because when we go through financial strain, sometimes some of us, we are overwhelmed. It brings on anxiety, money worries, money issues. So when we are dealing with money issues, money problems, moving forward, becoming that stable single in your financial aspects of your life, we want to talk about that. So we introduce to you today, Young, Dumb, and Broke. You may wonder, why did Splash say something like that? Isn't that a song? But we believe that young, dumb, and broke is a mentality that can hit anyone at any age, status, relationship status even, because you could be married and have that mentality as well. And it can happen for different religions. It is not a respecter of person. So as we want to see our singles transform their lives, especially if they're interested in family life, to become more stable in their mentality about finances. We want to move from being young, dumb, and broke to a mentality of financial stability, especially in that of the mind. So at this point in time, I want to bring on my co-moderator for the evening, and she and I will be having a wonderful discourse. Lauren, are you there with us?
I'm right here, Kafian. How are you?
I am extremely fine. I'm excited to be here. It's another time for us to rapport again. We had a wonderful morning. We had a wonderful night yesterday. And we're going to have a wonderful evening. You know, we have so much in store for them. So I'm going to give you an opportunity for all of us to really talk about what are we looking at the goal of this entire actual young, dumb, and broke aspect of our conversation this afternoon. So we're looking at financial stability. Are you interested in financial stability, Lauren, as a single?
I mean, who isn't? That's what we all go to work every day for, isn't it?
Yes, true. To aspire to meet our goals, you know, and even to when we get into relationships, you know, we are merging finances. I wouldn't let the cat out of the bag. So let me, be very, very careful there, right? And the strategic positioning of our status is very important to us, you know. Investments, insurance, budgeting, prioritization. These things they can affect our singleness, because people think that if you are, or when you get married, you just somehow become financially equipped to deal with everything.
Just like that.
And it doesn't happen like that. That's magic. And we don't believe in magic last time I checked, you know. And we're going to be talking about discussion and protecting assets as well. The aim for our singles is the goal of financial stability. So now that we've had a beautiful introduction, what about getting into something a little bit more warm? Lauren, you ready to say hi to us?
Of course. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to all our viewing audience, all those on Zoom and those on YouTube. We just want to welcome you here for our convention, Splash Convention, part 3. It might be second day, but it's part 3. And we want to say a special welcome as well to our specially invited guest. We have with us Vakisha Graham and Chadwick Noel, but I don't want to get into them right now. Kafian will tell you more about them just a little later. Right now, we are dealing with young, dumb, and broke. And by the end of the session, hopefully, you'll drop the last 2 words. So I want you all to sit back and relax, get your pen, your paper, because you don't want to miss anything that our guest speakers have to say. So pay attention and hope you guys enjoy the rest of this program.
Lauren, what am I feeling warm and fuzzy-duddy inside? I feel welcomed. I'm ready to see, what Splash could have in store again. After yesterday.
Don't keep them waiting.
Yes, we can't keep them waiting anymore. So at this point in time, let's all listen to an item of special music as we set the tone and mood. And this special artist is one of our favorites. He has, with his choir from Mova, already come to Splash Convention, and he's here again. And I want you to listen carefully to the words as we zone out and let you all zoom in to what we're about to experience.
Father, cover me. Look at the weather, things not getting better, the place getting colder. The angels that you put to hold back the wind, slowly letting it go. The devil is fighting stronger than before, trying to take over me. Lord, Father, cover me. Earthquakes and famines and pestilences have the place in a mess. With all that's going on, lately I'm asking myself, have I lived according to what you commanded? In the end, oh Father, where will I be standing? Cause after all them songs that I sing, after all them people I bring, after all them things that I did, Lord, this life that I lived, God, I hope that is not in vain. When you come again, it could be a shame if I don't hear my name. After all them souls that I win, after all them places I've been, after all this time that I give, God, this life that I live, Lord, I hope that is not in vain. When you come again, it could be a shame if I don't hear my name. God, I need your company. Don't move your cover off of me. It's not just the devil come for me, but sometimes my greatest enemy is my own counseling. I'm struggling, Lord, keep my feet from stumbling. And before you cleanse the earth, I must go to work out my own salvation with fear and trembling. Temptations, I feel it. God, I need your shielding. And anything that don't look like you inside of me, Lord, reveal it. When you send your angels all through the world to cover souls with your sealing, I hope and pray that my life in shape, it could be a shame if you leave me. After all them songs that I sing, after all them people I bring, after all them things that I did, Lord, this life that I live, God, I hope that is not in vain. When you come again, it could be a shame if I don't hear my name. After all them souls that I win, after all them places I've been, after all this time that I give, God, this life that I live, Lord, I hope that is not in vain. When you come again, it could be a shame if I don't hear my name called. See, there's a book that has been opened, and there are names that God has written down. And if my life's not in right standing, I stand the chance of being blotted out. Now is not the time for doubting. God, I need to know what I'm about. I don't need the money and fame. Lord, when you come again, I just want your name. After all them songs that I sing, after all them people I bring, after all them things that I did, Lord, this life that I live, God, I hope that is not in vain. When you come again, it shame if I don't hear my name. After all them souls that I win, after all them places I've been, after all this time that I give God, this life that I live, Lord, I hope that is not in vain. When you come again, it could be a shame if I don't hear my name call. Just want hear my name call. I just want hear my name. Lord, I want hear my name call. I hope this life that I live, Lord, is not in vain. When you come again, it could be a shame. Lord, I know. Just want my name. I just want my name. Just want hear my name. That I live, yeah. When you come again, it could be a shame if I don't hear my name call.
At this point in time, I want to introduce to you our speakers. And we met them on convention. We saw them come across in our advertisement. And they are persons that have endorsed us. So our first speaker we want to speak to is Mr. Chadwick Noel. Chadwick has served within the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Trinidad, both at the local and national levels. He served in areas such as communications, youth ministry, treasury, single ministries, and personal ministries. He has a deep interest in self-development and believes that relationships are the vehicle through which we explore our divine curriculum. Furthermore, Chadwick is a policy and research professional employed with the public sector. He holds a BSc in economics and a master's in global studies or international relations, distinction, if you please, from the Institute of International Relations, the University of the West Indies. He is currently completing his LLB with the University of London. Chadwick is a focused professional who is result-driven with a mature outlook on life and a firm believer in lifelong learning. He brings to the table an appreciation for flexibility, critical analysis, skills, and diversity. Mr. Noel is an avid reader who loves to travel the world and engage in adventurous opportunities and activities like hiking, etc. So, Mr. Chadwick Noel, do you want to pop in and say hi to the folks before we continue?
Yes, Kafi, and thank you very much. I'm very happy to be part of the 5th annual convention. I remember the very first convention with Singles Ministries. It felt like it was just yesterday, and we had the 5th annual convention. So I'm really excited to sit and chat with my co-presenter today. I think we have a lot of interesting things in store. So we just want you to stand by before we get into those exciting conversations. So thank you very much, Kafian, and it's my pleasure to be here today.
Oh, wow. We are so honored to have you. And it's wonderful to know that you've been with us from day one. So next on board, we have a wonderful speaker as well. And her name is Miss Patricia Graham. Now, Splash has been sponsored by Miss Graham before, and we are actually basking in her presence this afternoon, whereby she will be speaking to us. She joined us on our episode that we had called Friend Zoning and Ghosting, and we are really always excited to have Patricia in our presence. So she is a child of God who is passionate about becoming all of whom God wants her to be. Professionally, she is employed with the Ministry of National Security in research, monitoring, and evaluation. However, she previously worked in the financial sector for 6 years, after which she made a transition to the social sciences and further acquired a bachelor's degree in behavioral science and a master's degree in criminology. Patricia is also a certified life coach who is fun, down to earth, a realist, and specializes in helping others in the pursuit of wholeness. She has a genuine care for the well-being of others and have been providing counsel on life and love for the past 10 years. Patricia, a friend of Splash, how are you this afternoon?
Hi, I am pumped if I'm honest with you. I'm really pumped. And I was telling my co-host, my co-presenter that earlier on today, it's such a privilege to be here. Splash always has something innovative and creative. And now we're in this virtual world, right? So we're here for it. Let's see how it unfolds. All I know, I'm excited to be here.
Indeed, indeed. And already we see that the YouTube chat is lighting up, and then we will see people coming in over. So at this point in time, I want to turn the floor over to you, Young, Dumb and Broke, segment 1, and you have our avid attention.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Welcome again, everyone. This afternoon, we are presenting on this exciting and important topic of finance as it relates to your singleness and relationship. I mean, we could also refer to it as love and money, with the end goal of marriage in mind. So questions like, how do I learn to manage my money as a single person? Or how will I financially be ready for marriage? These questions are going to be explored today. And be sure we want to hear from you. The truth is, financial matters. You all get that? Financial matters. So hashtag that right now in the chat. Hashtag financial matters. It does require some attention before and after dating, and even more so upon entering into a serious committed relationship with someone, as I said before, with the goal of marriage, right? It is therefore imperative that we look at our own financial status, which includes, but may not be limited to, our spending habits, saving habits, attitude towards money, and the implications of such, right? So welcome to Young, Dumb, and Broke. And I'm sure you're like, Young, Dumb, and Broke, what's that? Quick joke. So Chad saw it and he was like, but our faces, Chad, permit me to give
I didn't give permission for you to share that inside joke though.
I am telling you, he was like, but our faces are there and the title is Young, Dumb, and Broke. So this is how Young, Dumb, and Broke looks. It's
so
not.
Richard,
it's
we're
not.
actually trying to figure out who looks young, who looks dumb, and who looks broke, right? And
Right?
then we concluded that if Young, Dumb, and Broke looks that good, then we all should embrace that, yeah?
We look good. But that's not what it means. Actually, when I heard this, I remembered a song by Khalid, Young, Dumb, and Broke. And I looked up on the lyrics and it said, jump, then we think, leave it all in the game of love, run into sin, do it all in the name of fun. And I'm like, that is the definition for Young, Dumb, and Broke, right? So when we hear it, it connotates being inexperienced, one who has no money, reckless, instant gratification, being impetuous. All of this implies that we can live our lives without commitment. So today, we want to talk about how not to be young, dumb, and broke. Yeah?
But one of the interesting things, V, and I'll be calling you V from now, right? Because I get your permission, right? Because
yes,
one of the interesting things when we talk about dating and finance and dating, I want us to be a bit careful, because many times what we look is at the other partner. In other words, we're looking external, but the conversation should also be where I hold up the mirror and look at my own self. Because we love to talk about what the other partner brings to the table, but we don't like to talk about what we bring into the table as well. You know, so as we talk finance, we want to look at our own lives as well and see how that's matching up to some of the expectations that we may have of somebody else.
Definitely. I mean, you already started. So why not just take us into probably some myths or some facts and feelings about relationships?
Well, one of the major things is that there are two things that people disagree about: sex and money. And of course, we're not here to talk about sex. So we're here to talk about finance, right? So those are two major things that people disagree on in a relationship. It's also believed that with no agreement on the issues of finance, there's definitely trouble down the road. So if you are courting, for example, and there are challenges in coming to some kind of compromise or agreement when it relates to finance, you can expect there to be trouble later in the discussion or into the marriage, yeah? And the interesting thing as well is that sometimes people go on dates and stuff, and you know, there's this expectation of who should pay first, etc. What's your thoughts on that though?
Look, the truth is money is a real uncomfortable topic to talk about. It's an intimate topic, right? But just to go back to that question, but who pays for what? You know, we're gonna show that in the survey because that was one of the questions we asked.
Definitely.
And yeah, like we wouldn't pull it up now, but I think that women generally think men should do the passing of the money. Right, but not me. I'm not that woman though. Like I want to split that bill, especially on that.
Let's go on a date. Let's go on a date. That sounds good.
Split that. Oh, you're one of those. You're one of the ladies. Actually, no chat. But seriously, yeah, ladies, we need to be so aware and to be able to observe these type of interactions and behaviors when we go out. Just saying.
Well, I think I agree with a perspective here, because to me, it depends. So if you extend that invitation to me, I expect that perhaps, I'm just saying, the invitation is extended and you should foot the bill because you are the one extending that invitation. It's like perhaps you invited me home for a meal and you expect me to bring what? Baked chicken? Well, we don't eat. Well, we expect me to bring the items. I don't know.
I mean, yes, it comes down to communication. I just may say walk with some ingredients, pass in the grocery and pick up certain things. You understand? It's not a black and white thing. Yes, I may invite you because you're taking too long as a timid guy to say, hey, let's go out. And I take the initiative and say, let's go out. You understand? But that doesn't say because I invite you. That's not a rule. I've heard it time and time again. It comes down to communication.
But it's
okay.
Yeah, it's okay because it really depends on how a woman wanting a man to pay. It may go back to what their ideologies are, their perspective of money is all about. And the man as well, who wanting to pay and always offering to pay, may reveal certain things about him as how he perceives money. And in your dating experience, you should look very closely to determine what are some of the things I can perhaps glean from this interaction and this experience with this person. Is it that he's saying 50-50 or he's saying, no, you pay? Or when the bill comes, he immediately goes to the bathroom. That's a trick that people use, you know?
Yeah.
Immediately go to the bathroom, that kind of thing. Or you get an important phone call and you have to leave. Those are things. Yeah, those are some things that you want to observe so that you can make your assessment. You can look at things through a financial perspective.
So here's a shot. Experts say that you should immediately talk about money if you get a sense that the relationship will last. So we are moving along that stage of dating, not the initial, but let's say you have, this is something that, you want to invest in terms of your emotions and your time. They are saying it's best we have that kind of conversation early. But I also want to share this though, as you just mentioned, the whole paying first and, man or woman who should pay based on the invitation. I am thinking, could it be that women may only be traditional in the areas of finance, but maybe non-traditional in other areas such as like household?
It's tradition by convenience you're raising. And that's the thing. The issue is that I am not so much interested in positions that people adopt. I more like to ask the question, why do you adopt this position?
Motive.
Is it that, for example, if a woman wants a man to do paying all the bills, for example, the question is why? And in responding to that question, why, we may discover that there are other things that we need to talk about. Because that issue there you raise, for example, it may be a traditional issue, it may be your own background, how you will socialize your culture, may raise other red flags as well. You understand? So those are very, very much important in the discussion. in terms of
Definitely.
finance. Yeah.
Definitely.
So in terms of the experts talking about raising it in a courtship, I agree conversations about finance should be raised in a courtship, but I also believe observations should also be made in dating as well. So you're not going there blind. You are looking at things. You are looking at, is he giving me gifts that he can't afford? He's working minimum wage, but I'm getting some gifts and some tickets to some exotic resorts. Yes, I'm benefiting from it. But where is this man getting this money from?
Where is this money coming from?
Exactly.
And that is a red flag. And I know we're going to go into it a bit deeper later on, but these are the red flags that we definitely want to look out for, right?
Yeah.
The gift giving, is it as you said, buying lavish gifts? Is it that his paycheck could actually, or is it that he's living from paycheck to paycheck, but
you in
yet
business,
he's living above his means, or she may be living above her means? And you look also at the type of things that she may be sharing. And as we live in this digital world, I mean, you can't discern this based on the person agreeableness or openness in social media. You can't visit someone's social media page, and you can't get an idea as to how they may spend their money. Money is related.
It might just do a nice drive-by where they live and stuff and make some observations, because where they live and how the condition they keep their place in and all these different things could give you an indication that their priorities may not be in alignment. Yeah. So the point I think we are making fundamentally is that when you enter into a relationship, we talk about many things, but that observation, that keen observation for finance, which can impact the quality of your relationship, not just for yourself, but remember you're talking about children may be involved and so many more dynamics, is important. And I think that's a key point to make in all of that.
Definitely. And I mean, with that being said, I think we could look at our reality, our current reality. Minimum wage, our average salaries, costs for rent, all these different things.
So
what is the minimum wage?
Yeah, so the minimum wage is about $17.50. If you look at somebody who is working at 40 hours per week, but at the end of the month, you're talking about $2,800, just under $3,000. Yeah. When you talk about inflation, just this week, everybody is talking about digestive going up to $3. I remember back in school days, it was 50 cents, right? I started off 50 cents. And so everything is rising. It appears as if every organization in Trinidad and Tobago is issuing a release telling you and justifying why their prices going up. And that is important.
Like that is the reality.
Yes. I mean, and when you look at the cost of average home, a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom home, you're talking about, in an urban area, perhaps you're talking about $1 million, $1.5 million. Yeah. So it seems as if we are in some real challenging time financially. And sometimes there is a real gap between our income and our expenditure and our wants and our basic needs, because our home is our basic needs.
As you said that there, I remembered I was having a conversation with one of my girlfriends, and I mean, she's in a really good job. The salary is good and all of that. And she was thinking about purchasing a home, and the reality kicked in. She was like, how can I do this by myself? And I'm sure a lot of us young persons out here, we ask ourselves when the reality hits us, can we really do this by ourselves? I mean, a mortgage could be about, let's say, $6,000-$7,000 a month.
That's your whole salary wipe off there.
You're telling me, or half, or how, but it's a big substantial amount for you considering that type of investment. You know what I mean? And it's like, so what does that mean? And now you have that contract for 30 or 30 plus years at that, and you set yourself up. It's like the society or whatever, however, the system is created for my failure. And it is truth.
Yeah.
And therefore, and therefore we need to be so aware, and our mindset definitely need to change, because if this is how it is now, what's going to happen 3, 4, 5 years down the road, right?
Yeah, and more than that, so just tying in what you raised there about mortgage and all these different things, it's important to have that conversation because with your partner, because you might think that one of the great things of getting into with somebody is that you may have a larger pool of resources to access, but that person may be in debt. And when you recognize that, hey, when it's time for you to buy the house, you discover, listen, we can't qualify because somebody has outstanding credit card, somebody's house was already repossessed, and you're like, what? And the person was like, well, we never discussed this, you never asked me.
Yeah. No,
You
it's
know,
true.
so those are like some real considerations to give when we are, in fact, getting into relationships, when we are making those observations, and when we are having the very difficult conversation about finance. Because make no mistake, the conversation about finance could be a very emotional one for people and can be a very difficult one for people. But today we got you covered because we have some tips in terms of how do I raise this conversation in the context of my relationship.
Yeah. And I just want to stress again, when we are faced with the whole topic of finance, as you said, it could be an emotional one. We can't be faced with the doom and gloom as we look at the reality of our situation, as we really put the pen or pencil to paper and we start to write down the gross income or, all the expenses and all the things that we may have. And we are like, I probably don't have anything at the end of the month, but it's not too late. It's never too late. So don't think that you're in that pit or you're in that rut and you can't come out. We're going to change that, right? But first, you need to be intentional. We are just setting the reality for you. We're just setting the tone of all of this, right? And I know, Chad, take us now into that. What does God say about all of this?
Well, I think one of the things that should be the foundation of our conversation when we talk about money, and I saw somebody's comment before, they were saying, listen, I'm paraphrasing, I'm adding some stuff. This is a single convention and not all of we want to get married. Some are we happy single. We could manage on our own, right? And have a conversation. Why can't we have a conversation about single persons and management of finances? And I think to a large extent, what we will discuss today will in fact cover that reality of persons who are in fact single and may not want to get married. Yes, because some of the principles apply as well. I think the very first point we need to understand is that money and wealth are blessings from God to use for the advancement of his work. I think that's very much important because a lot of people, the way they view money as if it is a sin. Some people, they don't want a swimming pool in the house, they don't want this, they don't want a mansion. I say, if you don't want it, just deposit it into my account here, because I understand and recognize that money and all that comes with it, wealth, it is the Lord that gives it. And I think that is very important for us to understand.
Yeah.
Also, the ability of someone to live within their means represents spiritual maturity as well, and good financial practice. That's important as well. So when we talk about managing your money, it's not just devoid of that spirituality to it. It is part of it, because how I manage my money represents my understanding of who God is and what he has loaned to me. So that's important as we continue the conversation today.
Yeah. And, what you said there is so true. We could really think that God doesn't want us to be wealthy or to have, material possessions, but your heart posture, why you want that which you want. Why do you want to be rich? You know what I mean? Why do you want to be wealthy? Because the Bible teaches that wealth comes from God and will be returned to him. So essentially, wealth should bring praise to God, and material wealth is given to mankind as a stewardship. Ultimately, we need to remember that God is the owner, and he expects us, his children, to care for his possessions and return to him.
But the
right?
interesting
And
thing
when
is that,
we, yeah.
no, go ahead, sorry.
No, and I'm just saying once we understand that and establish that in our mind, our affect now comes out, and the way how we behave towards money and our mindset towards money, it's different. It's but I want to say, let's be real here. It can be a challenge. It can be a challenge when you have inflation. It can be a challenge when you want to better yourself, when you want a better life. And you ask yourself, how am I going to do this? And you find yourself getting caught up in all the little money schemes or whatever opportunities that may bring itself in front of you, without thinking.
Can I just say, from my perspective, is that a lot of times our perception, just to go back to what you're saying, we may be caught up because of how we perceive things. In other words, some people believe that money is something you have to run after and you have to slave after. In other words, it becomes your master. So every little thing that happens, you want to be part of it. So it really depends. And just to piggyback on your point, how do I perceive money? What does money means to me? How do I have limiting beliefs about money that, listen, I am poor and them is rich. So every time you talk about rich, the dichotomy between the rich and the poor, you always on the poor side because you believe that poverty means my spiritual levels are high. So all of those beliefs will influence how I view money, I treat money, and I'm also bringing that perspective and that view within a relationship as well. So my thing about money is not how much money you have, or it's not about what you have, it's about who have you. In other words, is it that money is the thing that actually have you, or are you using money to advance God's kingdom, to advance your goals and objectives?
As a tool. Yeah. I mean, and you're talking a lot about money and all of that, but when we talk about stability, let's say financial stability, what does that really mean though?
So we will, that's interesting because we will talk a little bit about financial stability as we go along. But I think in going forward, there are some key definitions that we definitely want to highlight as we progress because it's important. One of them is about being single. Single simply means not married. I don't think we had time to just share the inside joke. We were laughing about that definition and the complications that can lead to, you're appearing on a single event, but you're 2 days before marriage because theoretically you're single. Yeah, you ain't married yet, right? But for the purposes of our conversation today, we are saying that single means you haven't said I do.
Yes, but there is that extra box that says you may be in a relationship.
Correct. So you have to ask 2 questions. One is single, and the other is you're available, So those are 2 important questions you want to ask. Also, in terms of when we talk about dating, I know yesterday it was a very interesting conversation about dating. We want to discuss dating, looking at dating from that whole idea of it's not exclusive. You are trying to know someone, and I don't need to harp more on that because we spoke about that yesterday. In contrast, courtship is where I have made a deliberate decision wanting to spend my life with this person, and we are exploring the will of God to see whether or not we will end up saying I do. Yes?
Right.
Also, in the definition you raised about financial stability, because we asked that in the survey, and a lot of the questions that we have been asked to speak on talks about financial stability. And so financial stability, as we see it, is someone who is able to cover their monthly expenses with some room for savings and possibly investments. Yes? And so we want to be a little flexible there. So that's how we see financial stability.
I also want to add to that definition. Financial stability also means you feeling confident with your financial situation. It also means spending less than you earn. You understand? And as we frame this for you in your minds, I want you listeners to think about your finances, right? I want you to be honest about your finances. And I want you to really ask yourself, do I spend less than I actually earn? Right? And for some of us, as you said, it may be able to cover the monthly expenses and still have to save or invest, right? But yet still, that just may not be enough. So I may still label myself as being financially unstable rather, so it's like, I need more. I want to be able to save more. I want to be able to give more,
Yeah. So I think those are very important, because we don't want to bandy terms that people have different perspectives. So when we talk about financial stability as a prerequisite, for example, for marriage or entering into a relationship, that's what we really mean in a very generalized sense, So, but interestingly though, we had a survey that we distributed, and we have some very interesting results that we want to share with persons as we get ready to dive further in.
While they bring up that survey though, I know we're looking at the whole aspect of being financially stable when you're single, but however, when you're dating, you must be able to identify activities you can or you cannot do as it relates to your financial stability, right? And we mentioned that in the preamble. Don't try to show off or impress when you know you may not have anything to eat in the night. You understand what I'm saying? Can I be real? Right? But instead, learn to be honest and communicate this bit from the onset. If you know you're in a pickle at that time, you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Be honest. Be honest with that person.
But I think as we get ready to go to another break in just about 2 minutes, I think it is so important to look at some external factors that are so much influential in how we save and how we manage our money. And that's just like social media, because the truth is, so many times we want to be trending. And so the jacket that we possibly could wear, somebody see us appearing on a live with it, and we want to buy something else. And there's this always cycle of wanting to impress others that throws us deeper into the pit of debt,
Yeah. So here's what. We're going into the survey. You think we should get them a break? Had them waiting a little bit, or I think they're bringing it up now.
Yeah, we could just possibly go with the first few questions as we reveal the survey results, and talk a little bit about what it is saying to us this afternoon as we look at Young, Dumb and Broke. So once it comes up and we see what the survey results are looking like, we can...
Guess what? Let's look at the demographics at least. Let's just have a look at who were the persons really that took the survey, and what they represent. I'm watching the chat here, and the chat is lighting up. We want your questions, so be sure to post them, because we want to be able to answer you. Yes, so we can take it to the survey slide. Thank you.
So that's the picture you're talking about, right? Young, Dumb and Broke, right?
Yeah, boy.
Yes, so here is it, all about sex here. Male, female, and 70%, just about 70% said are female, and 29 or 30% are male, So the females really come out this afternoon to make their voices heard through this survey.
Yes. So even when we're interpreting the results, we want to interpret also bearing in mind that females are the ones that gave most of the responses.
Yeah. So you hold them accountable to their response, and you will be their spokesperson this afternoon.
Of course, I'm backing down from that at all.
And with regards to the ages, so just a little backdrop, we shoot a survey to persons, asking them about various questions, and you will see what these questions look like. And so far, we have overwhelmingly women responding, and the ages are really between 32 to 38. That's the major age group that we are seeing persons responding.
Yeah.
Because that's important as we continue our interpretation of the data.
Mm-hmm. You think we should continue now? Because once we start here, there is no turning back.
All right, so when we come back, we will look at question 6, which is, do you think that one should be financially stable before entering into a relationship? Overwhelmingly, everybody says yes, and it's those women who are saying yes. So we will speak to that when we come back. So we take a short break. When we come back, of course, we continue to look at the survey results and what they are telling us as we look at young, dumb, and broke. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, we are on a roll, Vakisha and Chadwick. I don't know what is going on. Lauren, are you with us? Are you there, Lauren?
I'm here. I'm trying to keep up.
Did you see that WhatsApp? Did you see that Zoom chat? Did you see that YouTube chat? Indeed.
We getting stories, all kind of thing.
Listen, I'm telling you, and we have some love at this point in time, our guest speakers, and I want to shoot out those questions first so that they can masticate on them and be able to answer it immediately when we come back out of our little chat that we're going to have. We're having a little timeout session for our Zoom participants and our YouTube participants. So I'm going to shoot that to them, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the comments that we saw. You and I think we need to really talk to some of these things. So for Chadwick and for Kisha, we heard on the floor that can financial matters also be looked at from the perspective of someone who may be single? Time is the reality that not everyone may actually get married. So can we look at it? And I think Chadwick spoke a little bit about that. And if you feel so inclined, you can further answer. All right. Can an average single individually really afford a home on their own? That's coming from our YouTube channel. And what is good financial practice? I think that was something that you all mentioned. So we want to clarify what is good financial practice. Next question, how can we be financially stable while being single? Should I wait until I get married or looking to get married before I can, example, buy a house? Something to think about, something for our actual guests to answer. Why don't we, as a people of faith, improve or invest in the literacy of money? And then our last question before Lauren and I talk a little bit more is, am I poor if I can only afford basic necessities of this world? Or am I rich if I can afford the comforts, luxuries, and vanities of this world? Ooh, Lauren.
That last one is a serious question.
But you know, watch now. The hosts, the guests, just start off with an introduction and we see in the questions firing. Now, when they said hashtag financial matters, the YouTube chat lights up. All right, everybody was ready. They were ready to jump on board because finance matters. You know, finance matters to me. I'm sure finance matters to you, Lauren. You know, it's something that, as the demographic just say, that females think about. So the question to that is, I wonder why. And we talked about the cost of living getting higher. We're seeing in Trinidad and Tobago that things are bordering on, I would like to say, redonkulous. It's not just ridiculous. It's redonkulous. All right? You're seeing it happening over and over again that, you know, what is your $1 today? Tomorrow, it might be worth 80 cents. So when we think about that, we have to, as singles, process that in our minds when we think about investments, when we think about savings. So if your $1 is worth 80 cents tomorrow, how do I go forward thinking or moving or meandering my financial road path in this single journey? Anything stood out to you, Lauren, as you listen to our guest speakers think and talk a lot about what's going on with young, dumb, and broke?
Yes, it did. But I just want to touch on something you just said, because a lot of the times, we are so financially, okay, how to put it? We have tunnel vision when it comes to finances. You just want to, go get it, nothing else matters. It's important. You put that as the utmost priority. And I feel like we as Christians need to look at finances in a different way because yes, we have to make the best of while we're here in the world, but we have to, excuse me. Sorry. Yes, we have to also put in the mix faith and what God has planned for us as well. So in every financial decision, in all our aspirations, in all our goals, we need to keep that as the forefront because I believe Alan was saying in the chat, we need to normalize Christians and some of the Adventists being rich, and nothing is wrong with that, but is what people mindsets turn to when they feel like they have it all. That is the dangerous part. Another part
That's so
was another thing was live within your means. That I as a child grew up knowing that, and I love to hear them touch on it what they were speaking earlier because that is so important. So much sometimes what do they say? Your eye bigger than your than your mouth, than your stomach. So you see it, you want it, but you can't afford it. So you have to be smart about it, right?
But then you already hear some people saying, Lauren, fake it till you make it. So what then? Where do we turn? Which type of methodology do we choose in terms of our mindset? Because our hosts, our guests talked about, the understanding of God helps to dictate how we spend,
Definitely.
how we utilize our finances. Actually taking into context that what God has given us is what he has loaned to us. Yes. So I think in taking into consideration, if we are given certain things, right, that we are put on loan for, I think our brain cooler that is next, everybody, I think that this was the appropriate time to talk about if you were given things to own. So we're going to have a little short icebreaker, and we want persons on the Zoom chat to be able to answer. All right, and Lauren is going to explain a little bit more. But those who are on YouTube, don't feel that we've left you out. I want you to dive in and light up that chat, just like how we light up hashtag financial matters. We're going to do the same. So Lauren, I present to you a picture.
A picture. So this game was initially called Desert Island. You were supposed to choose an item and say how you would use it in a survival situation. But since we're talking about money and finances, we decided to put a little twist on it. So the items you see in front of you, I'm going to pick 3 people and I'm going to give you 2 items each. Well, I'm not going to give you, you're going to choose 2 items and then you're going to sell this item to me and market it to me and tell me why I should buy these 2 items. So Kathy, who should we choose from this Zoom chat? I'm seeing.
I think that who we should choose from this Zoom chat, I feel like, I don't know why I want to pick on Alden. I don't know, I have a special love for him. We go way back. And I'm feeling like I'm seeing a Timothy Letho. I feel like those are the 2 people I want to pick on today. And I want to jump a female in. She was with us last night and we enjoyed her. J.A. Roberts. So Timothy, J.A. and Alden. I think that's how we go in. I think that's
Kathy, should we pick the items or we should give them a choice to pick?
Let's be flexible. And Chadwick talked about being flexible. So let's be flexible. No All right. Problem. So you jump on.
No problem. So who's going first? Alan, you want to get us started and choose 2 items from the picture and then make a pitch to Kathy and I, and even Vakisha and Chad because they're listening. Alden, if you can speak up, I see you have your mic on, but we're not hearing you clearly.
Hello, hello.
Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear now.
All right, so I have to pick, what you said, I have to pick 2 things?
2 things, yes.
Okay. I'm gonna go with the dog and the camera.
Dog and the camera.
So I have to make the pitch right now on the spot?
On the spot. It doesn't have to be anything long.
All right.
Just convincing.
All right, hunting beauty. I call it hunting beauty. I think that if you buy this camera, you'll be able to take photos, Kafian, of all of the majestic views that you see in Trinidad. I know that you love nature and that sometimes your phone doesn't have enough memory. So getting this camera would afford you the opportunity to take pictures of your friends, your family, and anything that's nice, you know. And this camera, what it has on it is unlimited memory, right? So it's a new invention that we're making right now. I'm linking with Nikon and it has unlimited memory. So you don't have to worry about backing up information. Lauren, I'm selling to you this dog, right? This dog is a hunting dog. And I heard that in Trinidad right now, it's almost going to be inflation. I heard that tomorrow it's your budget. And if you would buy this hunting dog, you don't have to worry about getting your curry goat at all ever, right? That's one thing. And dogs are man's best friends, right? So I know that in your most difficult days, you may want to have comfort. So this dog could hunt, get all the meats that you want. And also he's loving. He's loving and he's brown.
Wow.
Hashtag Black Lives Matter.
Food and company. What more I want?
And you could you could actually put the camera with the unlimited access on the dog to probably peruse, you know, the different nature.
I want to buy the boat item.
You know, yeah, I definitely,
Nice.
I feel like we could come. It's a combo effort. So let's invite. Let's drop the lady in the mix now, right? Che Roberts, talk to us. Tell us which 2 items. Probably you might be doing a combination. Or probably
but you can't choose what Ireland just chose. Let's put it like that.
What's that? I was being flexible. Is Lauren fault? Lauren fault.
We have to make it interesting.
Yes, indeed. Hi, Ms. Roberts, you're there with us? I'm not sure she's hearing.
Not sure. I'm seeing
so since we don't want to have a lull in the middle, let's jump on to our gentleman, Mr. Letho. I hope I'm pronouncing it properly. Could you jump on with us?
Yeah, sure, no problem. You pronounce it correctly.
Great.
Very good.
Let me see what we do here. So the scenario is you're going camping and whatnot, and I have to sell you a pitch as to 2 items that you should get by all costs. Okay, so let me see. Let's go with the compass, and let me rock with the compass, and let me do the guitar. Let's go with that.
All right, business pitch. We ready?
All right. So the compass, right? If you're going out in the woods and you're going camping and whatnot, you need to know where you're going and how to get from where you're going. You need to be able to localize yourself, okay? So you don't want to go in an area where, you know, you're gonna get lost and those sort of things. So the compass is quintessential, is necessary. It could get you out of a situation really quickly once you know how to deal with it. And I think they don't cost that much at all. Now, while you're out there, we don't know if you're with anyone out there. And sometimes if you're alone in a specific space for too long, you may go insane, right? So you need something to help you out, right? So we have the guitar. You run a little tune there, hit a little strumming, you know what I mean? And start a little singing, you know, rightly out there to be able to entertain yourself as you are beholding all the different things you're seeing in nature. So I would do the compass and the guitar.
Wow.
So the music might act as the direction for the northwest or the southwest of the compass. You know, if I had to combine it, I want a musical compass.
And also, right? Like if you're running music, you may attract, you know, I know an animal may come strolling and thing, just like how Alan would have said. You may get a goat coming to hear you play. So you go ahead and
I'm concerned about that part. You had me, but then I just thought about
sound when you
are. He had me until I think that something is going to attack me from the bushes. So I don't know.
The animals are going to run from you, and you know that compass will come in if you get stuck in the night, you know, because in the night is when the animals come out to play. But if they're hearing all this song, they're running because they're thinking hunters. And that is when Alden Dog come in with the camera ready to catch the pictures, and we go in clear, and we have a whole combination ready for outdoor activity. So I think we had some fun. And now that we have given our hosts, our guests, an opportunity to think about questions and get ready to jump into their segment 2 of Young, Dumb, and Broke. Lauren, see you later.
Later.
Thank you, Kafian. You may just have to go over some questions. I don't think we captured everything in its entirety, but what I can say, some of the questions you asked, we answer them later on in our presentation, definitely, such as how can I be financially stable? Like we have some real tips for you, right? I know a question was about why don't we improve or invest in the literacy as a church, you know? What I could remember is that the church has a lot of stewardship platforms and events and presentations, seminars, etc. So I want to say get involved. And if you as well, if you think so, then why not discuss it with those around you? You know what I mean? Present something, suggest something, probably do a proposal, try to direct them into where they can go. And how can these programs more look like, what the investment may look as. Chad, you have any other questions?
I particularly like the question about, if I could remember, the whole issue about am I poor? Am I poor if I only afford basic necessities? You know, the truth is, let me tell you what my belief is. Poverty and richness, poverty and wealth is really about a mindset. So it's not so much when you talk about wealth, you try to look at the, do a calculation to see how much money you have, but it's really about a mindset, because there are so many beautiful stories I've heard, be it in church, outside church, of people who had absolutely nothing. If I can quickly share this story of this couple in church who would always tell us that, listen, when we fell in love, we had nothing. And when we lie down in the night, we could actually see the stars in the sky because their roof, their galvanized, had holes. And they had a mindset that, listen, we are going to position ourselves to come out of this position. So it's not so much about what you have now or what you don't have, but it's about your mindset, your commitment, and your passion to get out of where you are right now. So in terms of rich and poor, I would just say, let's be careful how we define those terms and just having financial resources and assets, but more so, can we have a wealthy mindset, a wealthy perspective? And the truth is, somebody may have $1 million that is given to them, but they may be very much poor in how they perceive money. And that same wealth that they have now, within 1 year, it's all gone. Yeah.
Yeah. And just to add to that though, I do want to give a working definition though, because when you hear poor, the reality is we see it all over. We see that there are definitions to it. Poor is when you're considered also like you cannot afford your basic necessities.
Sure.
You know, yeah, you cannot live in that comfortable means. And this is why I think it's important that we do even have a definition in that way, Chad, because it helps us build that mindset, because one can be so comfortable not having the necessities and think, okay, well, yeah, I'm good. God said I could live content here and all of that. But the ultimate thing here is for you to grow, because you are, every human, all of us, we have that potential to grow. We have that potential to adapt, to activate, to acquire that mindset to which you're talking about. So I want to say, if that working definition of poor fits you, then you have something that you can work towards. You know what I mean? And our level of comfort may be different. My comfort may be, I don't mind that open roof, I need to see the stars, and I just have a little covered area there. But someone else may want a pool, as you said, you know, but it's okay to want those things, but you need to be aware of yourself. And that's where the self-awareness, the emotional intelligence, I mean, that's a whole topic for another time.
Yeah, I just think sometimes, just to say this concluding remark with regards to this topic, so many times we associate wealth with so many different things. So wealth with arrogance, wealth with pompous, wealth with this, and poverty is associated with humility. Listen to me. I am not sure that's true. I always share this story. I've seen people who are poor and there's tremendous arrogance, and you're like, what? So there's not always these association that we make with wealth. They may not always be true. And I think we need to move away from somebody who is rich might be a particular way. That's not true. You know, it's not true at all. It's about who do you have in your heart? And if we have Jesus in our hearts, then even having money will not change who we are.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, we had another question. How can you be stable while single? And I think that was attached to, should I wait till I get married before buying a house, you know? And I figure that came out of the scenario I gave with my friend. The truth is, ladies and gentlemen, you need to be brutally honest with yourself. Yeah? You need to be honest with yourself. Can you afford to buy a home right now? Can you? Right? And you need to explore. And that's why I said at the beginning, we need to be intentional. You need to pick up yourself. I mean, or anything is accessible now on the internet. You have to do your research. There are a lot of mortgage calculators. You could do the research, call the banks, find out from the credit unions, find out what can you do, and give yourself that time. How long would it take me to get to that point? How much my down payment? If you're saying that, yes, I don't mind taking out the mortgage, be aware of the implications of that. You know what I mean? Like, you would have this commitment, this contract for 30 plus years of your life. Are you able to do that? Or can you acquire bit by bit as you go along? Yeah.
I think that's important. Did we cover all the questions, or there are some outstanding questions that we need to?
Kafian will have to come on and tell us.
But
we
perhaps
can always catch it up later on.
Yeah, so we can come back to those questions, but if we can just go back to the survey results, look at them, and so that we can press on in the interest of time. Yes?
Yes,
so
thank
we can
you
just
so
go back
much.
to those questions, those survey results.
I think it was question 6.
Yes, we were on that very interesting question, which is question number 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so overwhelmingly we see when we ask the question, do you think one must be financially stable before entering into a relationship? Overwhelmingly, people said yes. You know, before we engage in this and get serious, you should have some money to cover your expenses with some savings, yeah?
Yeah, so my question to that is, and let's be real, right? Because we do meet people that may be unemployed and we may really like them, and we don't mind being pursued by them. that may look quite different to someone who may have a stable job and have that income. Are we saying that you cannot date someone who is unemployed?
Well, and that's a very interesting question. Can I date somebody who is unemployed? Let me ask you the question, would you date somebody who is unemployed? So for me, let me answer the question first. For me, I will have questions to ask. I want answers. So one of them is, okay, you are unemployed. How come? It may be that, listen, my contract ended, or it may be that I was laid off, the company closed, financial problems. But I think the guiding principle is to observe whether that person has this desire and this commitment to actually find another job or to source another income. So in other words, you want to assess, is this person actively engaging in searching for a job so that they can become financially stable, or it may, because this may just be a temporary experience in their lives. And I don't think that we want people who, you're not financially stable, I don't want you, because it may just be that's the person God has for you, and they are just going through a season in their experience.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important not to go away thinking that somebody must have all the ducks in a row before I engage them. But I think what you need to discover is whether or not this person has the mindset, because as I said before, wealth and good financial management is all about a mindset. You engage that person to see whether or not they have the mindset that can take this relationship forward. You will be amazed that sometimes someone may come into a relationship not having much, but over time, they may bring so many things to the table that you will say, wow, if I was only stripper today, I wouldn't be enjoying this,
Yeah.
And
just to add to that, I also want to add the other perspective. If you know that you are unemployed, right, and you do want to become involved with someone else, then you should at least reach to that point that you're aware of where you are at. You're aware of the responsibilities that may come along with being in a relationship, or even being pursued or doing the pursuing, and being upfront with it. Being upfront, say, hey, I'm currently unemployed at this time. I am looking for a job, and it's okay to give that option. Do you think we can, become, could we pursue each other? Or do you think you'd like to give me a chance? But all of that presents itself to work within a friendship. You know what I mean? Like, you can work on the friendship.
Yeah, so it's not about you're not financially stable, so I'm not going with you. I don't think it's an absolute, but it's a conversation that you need to have, because I might date someone, I'm not financially stable, but I may have so many resources, and you are a life coach. You might say, hey, we can make money XYZ. And when I done one session with you, I'm a millionaire. In 1 year, I'm a millionaire. So you are able to call forth or to highlight some of the competencies that I don't even recognize I have, that I can monetize. And therefore, that is the importance of having that conversation, and not just thinking about how much money this person have, what kind of job they have, but really looking at the value the person brings, and more importantly, asking God for guidance in your interaction with that person.
Definitely. Okay, so we're looking at the time. Let's go on to the other question, because I really want to be able to present the tips for you. So let's get the slide to change. Our survey results. So we kind of tackled this up,
but we talked about it already.
So let's go on to the other one. Yeah. Do you think married couples, this is what we asked, do you think married couples should only have shared or joint accounts. And the reason why we ask this is because we get to understand your mentality, and you even get to really think about the question, because you do want to decide to become married. For those who want to, you get to understand where I'm at now. How do I feel about sharing our accounts? And, you know, we did have some interesting comments coming out from this. Persons were saying they were being very practical. You know, they were saying, well, what if situations may arise that we may not be able to? So they were very practical with it. But, and I know, Chad, you want to jump on here, but what I do want to say on this is that when we see 63% saying, no way, I don't think we should only have shared or joint accounts. I want you to remember that in a marriage, there is no me, you, it's us. You understand what I'm saying? It's us. We're in this together. We should be open. All our finances should be open. There shouldn't be anything hidden. If you go into a marriage with that type of mindset regarding your finances, then we need to check that. We need to check that.
That's so true, V, because I think a lot of us, we want to be married, but we want to maintain our single status in a way, in a marriage. And it don't work, so it's either or. When you shift into marriage, your mindset then shifts, as you say. And I know this may be challenging because if you have been single for quite a while and you're going into a relationship, there is this perhaps a time for you to get over the fact that, listen, I'm not pooling my resources together. So that is one thing in terms of this whole idea of joint accounts as well, in this regard.
Yeah, let's move on. Thanks. I think now we're going to look at some answers to our number 9 question. Do you believe financial discipline developed as a single person can affect the quality of your future marriage? Yeah, definitely. These are actually the comments that came out from the survey. One said, if we learn to be financially prudent and economical, it naturally contributes to trust and confidence in each other. Someone else said, yes, certainly. If the partners drastically differ in money habits, it can be a point of contention in the marriage. Definitely. We have to ensure the partner understands or shares our financial values. Definitely. And I think we could really go into the whole discipline or lack of and its implications for marriage. What do you think, Chad? So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I think some of the key points we made already with regards to that, perhaps we can look at the different types of personalities in terms of managing of money. When we come into relationships together, we may have different persons and personalities coming together, and what do we need to look out in that regard?
Yeah, let's look at slide 10. Right, but I do want to say this bit though. I do want to say that the lack of financial discipline, as we were talking about financial discipline, definitely it affects our marriage. There's no if or buts or maybes. You will go through financial turmoil. One partner may have to bear the brunt of the finances to provide, and this brings animosity and isolation. It is essentially a threat to the cohesion of the family. And that is why we stress it is so important that we adopt that mindset from now as it pertains to financial discipline. I recommend getting the book, The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. I don't know if anyone heard about that book. I'm sure.
Just to share another perspective, because I see somebody is weighing in on the shared bank account. The truth about it is that when you're entering into a relationship, a lot of us talk about infidelity, meaning if your partner cheats with you with another person. But there's something called financial infidelity as well, where I hide my financial resources, most times my debt, and having secret accounts from my partner, so that when it's time for us to perhaps buy a home, it's only at that point in time we realize we have outstanding debt because I didn't have it. I didn't disclose it before. I think it's also important that when you begin in your relationship, for there to be absence of trust when it comes to finance, you are actually undermining the trust in the entire relationship. So if I can't trust you with money, therefore, it's a logical question to ask, what else I can't trust you with? And so it undermines that bond and trust in the relationship as well. So I think that's important to have financial integrity, openness, communication, transparency when we are discussing finance, because it can undermine your relationship in a very significant way. With regards to joint accounts, I think a lot of people, when we talk about having joint accounts, we don't want it because, is it, or should I ask the question, is it that we don't want it because we want to be free from accountability? If it means that you want to be free from accountability, then perhaps you may need to reassess getting into a relationship. Because remember, when you get into a relationship, both you and your partner have a vision before you, and you have goals to accomplish to reach that vision. And if it means that I cannot hold you accountable for your decisions, it means that there will be problems in the relationship. So even if you have a joint account or not, in other words, the issue is not whether you have a joint account or you have a single account. The issue is accountability, because even if you have a single account, you are still to be held accountable by your partner. You're accountable to yourself, to God, and to your partner for how you use your resources. So none of your resources are outside the scrutiny, as it will, of your partner.
Right. And as we look, there's a nice segue as we go into the 7 money personality types, right? I want you all to remember this. If you will live like no one else, later you can live like no one else. This is saying that if you make the sacrifices now that most people aren't willing to make, later on, you will be able to live as those folks will never be able to live. You see, because most of the times our immaturity causes us to be unwilling to delay pleasure for a greater result. Some of us are compulsive shoppers. You know, we shop based on how we feel, and to feel better, we
Can you narrow that down to sex?
No, we cannot. And I know what you're trying to do, okay?
I'm just asking. It's a question I'm asking.
Some of us are in denial about our spending habits. You see, because we don't really grasp the concept of putting things in place for later down the road. And if you're here today, if you're here for this convention, you're here for Young, Dumb, and Broke, that means you want to be intentional. And as I saw on the YouTube chat previously, someone said, yeah, like, I want to know how to be financially savvy. So you want to grasp that concept of putting things in place for later down the road. You know, but some of us, instead, it's when later come, we will deal with that. But we need to change the way we feel and we see money. And as we refer to the 7 money personality types, we have the compulsive saver. As we go through this quickly, I want you to see yourself in here. Where would you put yourself? Would you put yourself as the compulsive saver? You save money endlessly, view money as a source of security. You're thrifty, you're frugal, financially responsible, bargain shopping expert. You look for all the sale, all the buy 2, but all the plenty for 20, you know, and there is that fear of irrational spending. Or are you a compulsive spender? This is where you often make unnecessary purchases. You see it, you like it, you buy it. You know, and we know things are so easy now online. And if you're looking to save more, one quick tip here is do not save your credit card information on your computer or on your mobile device. This will actually give you some time before you actually make that purchase. You know what I mean? Because now you'll have to put in all your information, and I want you to think about that. If you find yourself as a compulsive spender, there is also the 30-day rule. If you see something and you want it, wait 30 days to see if this is what I really want. Okay? So yes, spends when when you're experiencing emotional distress or for immediate gratification. Experiences buyer's remorse after big splurges. So after you buy everything that you want, you come home and you feel sad, almost angry. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, why did I even buy that? I've experienced it. It's not a gender thing here, Chad, so don't try to bring in the gender card here right now. But I've experienced it. Then we have the compulsive money maker. Believes life is better when you earn more. Your top priority is growing wealth, making more money, and you crave recognition for your financial success, right? Then we have the indifferent to money. You tend to be financially well off. You really think about money, and you feel that money should not influence important decisions in your life. Next, we have the saver splurger. Shares combination of traits between the savers, as we saw on top there, and the spenders. So we're looking at the green box and the blue box. You're smart with money for a certain amount of time, but then you may say, you know what? I save a lot. I have enough money. Let me just buy what I want. And then you give into spending impulses from nowhere. So you just start to spend just like that. Okay? Then we have the gambler. Shares combination of traits between the spenders and the money maker, the blue and the gray. Takes big risks with money. Happy with financial wins, but deeply depressed over losses. What comes to mind is the flower power. You know what I mean? That flower circle and a lot of different money opportunities that may present itself where you're getting money right now, but you must first gamble your money. And then we have the warrior, constantly worried about losing money. You lack confidence in the ability to achieve financial freedom, and you're always in preparation mode. So these are some of the money personality types. Find yourself in there. Find where you are in there.
But that's really interesting. And thank you so much, V. I think this is very comprehensive. And the truth is, most times when we look at personality types, be it money or otherwise, we may not be one thing, but we may be a combination of several things. I think coming up from what you just presented, one thing is sure is that we must be honest with ourselves and bring that level of self-awareness. Listen, this is who I am, understanding where you are and where you need to be in such a way so as to ensure a successful relationship and by extension, a marriage. Because there are some things there that will undermine the quality of your marriage. And the success of a marriage does not begin when I say I do. The success of a marriage begins by what I do every day as a single person, because you are bringing your entire self into the marriage. So I really get self-awareness from what you have been talking about, being honest, self-awareness, and taking those steps to treat with where I am and where I want to be, that gap. You know, so that's really much an eye-opener.
Of course. So so we can stop sharing the slides now. And I think now, Chad, we can go into our guidelines. Let's give them some guidelines, some tips in financial management, in singleness, and also in relationships, right? So now we really want you to be taking these notes, right? We want to begin with the end in mind. First and foremost, this is my tip to you. Begin with the end in mind. I know it can be challenging for most of us because we focus on the here and now, but when we envision the results that we want, it can motivate us to be serious about our financial management in our singleness.
Yeah, so I really think it's important to have a vision, because I so love vision. Like when you have a vision, it directs, it guides, it gives you hope, it inspires you. All those things happen when you have a vision. So if you know, for example, that listen, I want to save X amount by the end of the month, you know that every single cent is already accounted for. You know where you're going. And that vision as an individual, having vision as an individual, you can now unite that vision when you get your partner. So the whole concept of having a vision for yourself, direction for your life, is not a foreign concept when both of you sit down to talk. So I think that's very important about having that beginning with the end in mind. Where am I going?
Yeah, love that. And I have another one for you all. Very interesting. I don't know if you ever thought about this one. Assess your thoughts on gender roles. So ask yourself, do you have a traditional view where the man must pay for everything, where he must be the sole breadwinner, bringing home all the money, whilst you may remain at home, probably as a stay-home mom or so? Or do you express egalitarian views? You see, because your thoughts on gender roles can shed light or make you more aware of how you may be handling your finances, because you may spend as a woman and you may say, well, I'm going to find a rich husband. I'm going to find a man who has money and he will take care of me.
And that's important, because once you assess gender roles, it will treat with some of the challenges that you may have going forward. So if you are open and honest and say, listen, I really don't like the whole idea of me as a woman going out and work every day. I prefer to take care of the kids. Have that conversation earlier, because if you get into a marriage and then the person is like, so how much money are you contributing here? Then that can be a challenge. So having those conversations and being honest about your own self by saying, listen, this is how I perceive what a man should be, and tell me what you think you should be doing, and really having that honest and open conversation.
Yeah. Another one, we have, you must have a budget. You must have a budget. Fall in love with budgeting. Know where your money is going. Before you receive your salary, allocate where your money should go. So your budget should consist of your tithes, your offerings, any loans, your rent, home contributions. If you don't have a rent, insurance, savings, schools, list everything that you spend money on. So you'll be able even to see what you need to cut out, right? And you have to allocate savings in your budget. You must set up an emergency savings, right? At least a month or two. If you're really now starting, try to get yourself, before you start to save on one side, try to save for emergencies first and foremost. Try to save at least 2 to 3 months of your salaries in an emergency savings account. Peradventure, if anything should happen, you will be able to at least survive for a few months while you're looking for a job, etc.
Can I just share this quick tip? One of the things I did, and I want to continue doing it because it's so powerful and it gives you a real sense, a real snapshot of how you spend money. There are several formats you can just Google of Excel spreadsheets so that you can allocate your income and expenditure. And every single day, at the end of the day, if you're going to the shop, you buy a pack of bourbon, you keep that receipt, and at the end of the day, you log everything in. You'll actually see that you are making, or you have so much more money than you first imagined, because you are actually holding yourself accountable for everything. And then I realized that there's so much money that you just pull out your wallet and you spend and you don't realize. But it takes patience, it takes commitment for you to really sit down and plug in those figures on an Excel spreadsheet. And at the end of the week and even at the end of the month, you'll actually see how much money you can possibly save. So a lot of people say they don't have money to save, but once you do that task, let's say for 1 month, you're going to see ways in which you can actually pull money. Should I have taken that car or could I have walked? And I save $5 here, and you can do that throughout, and you realize that you have more money than you first thought.
Yeah, definitely. And I know this information can be really much overwhelming, right? But we want you to start step by step, right? Don't look at the entire staircase. Take it step by step. So if you are in a position and you can save for retirement, and you can invest in the stock market, by all means do so. But for those who are unable to take these big projects and work towards them, we want to give you that step-by-step tip. Start with your emergency fund. Start right there first. Save the $200 a month, save the $500 a month. You know why? Because we know if we save little by little, it will definitely add up. Okay? So
Yeah.
I don't want you to think that, I can't do this. How am I going to start all of this? No, just let's take it step by step. Proverbs 13:11 says, dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow. Okay?
Yeah.
So I want you to bear that in mind.
Yeah. So I think we can possibly now pass to the moderators, because I think they have something in store for us as we go to another intermission. So we will stand by for them now.
Wow, that was dynamic. This second part.
Yeah, indeed, it was phenomenal. I'm really enjoying this dynamic this afternoon between Chadwick and Vakisha, or V and C, as we see that they are being called this afternoon. Some really good quotes that we're getting so far. Vakisha said another topic for this could be called Love and Money. I find that sounds like a movie title, starring V and C once again. We really like that one. Vakisha mentioned a really important point. She said, begin with the end in mind. That is something that resonated with me, because you want to have, you want to look into your future. You don't want to just have, myopic vision when you're looking at money issues and topics. And financial infidelity. Wow, Delia, how that one sound to you? That one kind of take me off guard. It sounded a little crazy to me.
Listen, financial infidelity had the YouTube chat going, because Sister Beckles one time, she said, not finances aren't hidden, not necessarily, it's just separate. You had to clarify that, and Sister Runa was there as well. It was really lighting up with all these controversial issues, but yet very relevant issues, as well as I want to continue with Vakisha's statements. I think like Vakisha is kind of overflowing into what Brother Mac Knight would have been using, those little idioms yesterday. And I love how she was just using them interchangeably. She was like, begin
Very
with the end in mind.
Yeah. And you know what this conversation really reminded me of? It really reminded me of, remember one day you and I were having this conversation about like our first jobs. And I was telling you, there's something about PD. Those vendors in town, my God, my Lord, come now, Lord Jesus. It's like, they know when you're getting paid. So when you're walking down Frederick Street, under mannequins and you seen a shirt you didn't see yesterday. Yesterday when you had no money, you didn't see the shirt, right? Now payday come and you seen 5 shirts, and then I'm saying, communion coming up Sabbath, I had to give them my best to the master. I need a new shirt. And when you go to try it on, you see a different one, a different color, and the shirt, the clerks, and I'm just be like, well, this pants will look good. They say, yeah, throw it in the bag now. But those were days when we were young, dumb, and broke. But at least we still look good. So, that's all that mattered at that time. But
that is what I really enjoy about this program, Kieran, because Vakisha stated clearly, her and Chadwick, they spoke about immediate gratification and those seven types of spenders.
Definitely.
And we really need to be mindful about where we fall, and so that we could fix and change and even adjust our lifestyle to become and grow into what we really want to be. And thinking about that too, I feel like I want to just place this plug about what finances and how important finances are to us. Bob Marley once said, I am sure all the youths, because we're talking about young, dumb, and broke, we all remember that one particular video when Bob Marley was like, the reporter asked Bob Marley, are you rich? Are you wealthy? And he said, wealthy how? What wealth mean to you? And like, do you have a lot of capital, a lot of assets, a lot of money? And he said, money? Oh, well, I do not have a real, Jamaican accent. He's like, what little money? That's not well. That's not important to me. And he said he was rich in other things, and he was rich in family life, and he was rich in depth, and he was rich in doing the things that he loved, and which in turn made him financially stable. So it's something to think about. What do you think about that, Kieran?
I agree with that. And maybe we can get one of our new Jamaican friends from Interlink 2 last night to help you with that accent. But that is another topic for another day. All right. But let's go into some of these really engaging questions that we had in the chat. Now, Christopher said, this is a question I guess he threw over to the V and C, and they could definitely tackle it when we hand back over to them. And he says, is our boat of stability that takes us across these waters of life a financial vessel, and its maintenance is spiritual where it's available, or is it spiritual, a spiritual vessel, and its maintenance of financial where it's available? This is like a tongue twister. I might probably need to send this privately to Chadwick and Vikisha to make sure they get the full question.
The answer.
Yeah. And we saw another one. What is the benefit of joining finishing institutions such as banks and credit unions? It's a great question. And then we saw another one. If we can understand that whatever we are seeking to achieve, we will need to prepare, so also in marriage. So if we are continually training to maintain self and independence, it undermines and compromises the submission and unity that marriages are dependent upon. So those are some really, some of the really interesting questions, comments that stood out to us. So when we hand back over to Vikisha and Chadwick, maybe if they just want recollection, we could probably just turn on our audio and see the questions again, because they were a little loaded, but it would be nice if they, could probably hit on it, or something like that.
Most definitely. And before we go into our special music, because we have a lot in store for all our viewers and listeners out there, I hope you all are enjoying the program thus far. But before we go into that, I like to make sure everything comes down to the finest point to be as interesting and applicable to our lives as possible. When they were speaking and they were talking about, saving for a rainy day and making sure that you have an emergency account, I was just like, as a female, I'm like, this is very hard and difficult for a person like me, because as soon as I get paid, the amount of things that I'm already wrapped up in, they say to save for when you actually get older. You have a pension, you have your pension, insurance, you have other insurances, then you probably have a car that you have, and then you have that loan, and then you have car insurance, and it somehow feels as soon as you get paid, all your money vanishes. So where is this extra money I'm getting to save?
Definitely.
So let me
they always say save for a rainy day, but sometimes it feels like that rainy day came with a tornado. And your money just went up there with all the cows and the galvanizers flying. But, I feel like this discussion is so significant and very mandatory. And we are seeing from the interactions in the chat.
Oh, I see in the chat.
Yeah, people are really definitely engaged and enjoying this interaction. So at this time,
second source of income. Good idea.
Yeah, definitely. So this time we hand back over to Kafian and Lauren.
Hi guys. Oh my, thank you for such a wonderful input. And before we go into our special music, we have to shake things up a little bit. Vikisha and Chadwick mentioned some things, Lauren, something I find very interesting. 7 money personalities. You heard that?
I got it. I was trying to pinpoint him. Which one am I? I should figure it out.
Now, as we take in that deeper look into ourselves about who we are, I want, before I even put this out there, for you to choose 2 persons alone on our chat that you want to speak to us today. I don't want to say what I want to say, but you could trust that it will have nothing to do with you personally. So I can put that disclaimer out there. So don't be afraid. Walk into the splash sunlight, as we get ready soon to open our beaches and open our country in some way. So walk into the splash sunlight. Don't be afraid. So Lauren, who do you want to choose?
Kafian, last time, we were trying to get the ladies involved and we weren't successful. So this time I think we're talking to our ladies, right? So I'm seeing a Shelly Martin and a Kim C. So those are our two participants for this, little brain teaser.
So Kim and Shelley, we are picking on you at this point in time. So they talked about the compulsive saver, the compulsive spender, the compulsive money maker, the indifferent to money personality, the saver splurger, the gambler, and the warrior. Ladies, could you jump on and tell us which personality or money spending or money personality that you would be greatly afraid of if you were to enter into a relationship? So it is the compulsive saver, the compulsive spender, the compulsive money maker, the indifferent to money, the saver splurger, the gambler, the warrior. Which one of these personalities you would prefer to avoid, and possibly give us a little insight and say why? We're all about being vulnerable. That's why we have Vulnerability Vault, and we're going to have Vulnerability Vault 3 coming up to be announced. So I think we could go with Kim first, and then we'll go to Shelley. Kim, how are you today? Kim, are you there with us? And these ladies going silent on us.
It's quiet today. So
Kim,
let's see
don't
if
be
Shelley
afraid.
is there. Kim getting
Shelley,
ready.
are you with us?
Let's see if Shelley is there.
With you. Can you all hear me?
Yes,
we can.
Shelley.
Yes, I thought you were going to ask me which one I was, but that's not the question. It's between the compulsive spender and the gambler for me. I think it would be an unstable feeling in a relationship or a marriage, and just be unpredictable. And I'm a person that really likes to plan and strategize and control to some extent. So I think that
would That's a good share, Shelley. Thank you for being so vulnerable with us. And I can understand why, and as we're learning more about ourselves, it even helps us to navigate learning more about others. I want to see if Kim is still available. And if Kim is not available, I want to tap into Rashida Glasgow to answer our question for us. Kim, are you there? So I don't think Kim is there. Kim is probably afraid of us. Rashida, do you want to jump on and talk to us? We promise we won't bite. It's virtual.
Good evening. I don't have to show my face, right?
No, you don't have to. You're talking to us.
All right. Well, for me, I wouldn't like the gambler, and the one that's concerned worry, and that's 2 for me. Actually, it's 3, but I will use those.
And what about the worry and the gambler frustrates you or makes you feel concerned as a female?
Well, honestly, I would not want a guy like that, because then he would be worrying about stuff, and you're supposed to lean on board and pray about it and allow God to walk in your footsteps, and not worry. We shouldn't be worrying about money. We should be working as a team and coming together. And what I said, I like what Chad said, you plan, you write on your stuff, and I think that is something that I will try, where every time you go to the grocery, you keep the bills, and certain things I will keep bills for, but not everything. So that's something that I think I will try.
I like that. Worry less, pray more.
Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. So as we are about to go into some special music, when they say that we are getting ready, coming closer to the end, it's time to set a nice, calm tone. So let's listen to some calm music at this time by Brother Devon Chick. last round with Fakisha and Chadwick, V and C. We say to you, make sure that you surrender your mind to God as we try to navigate finances. He has made us stewards of everything that he's given to us. And we're saying also to you, surrender the different bad habits that you have that may prevent you from being financially stable. V and C, back to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Chad on mute. Let's go.
Yes, so I'm back on. Some amazing music there for reflection. I think we want to now just talk a little bit about, those red flags, those things that I should look for when I am interested in someone. So from the context of dating, what are some of the things or red flags I should look for? Because remember, we said that most times we look for other things. We look at their physical attributes, we look at so many different things, but the money part is something that we do not pay very careful observation. I want to put one on the table. I want to submit one of the red flags is if this person always borrowing money from other people. They always have some loan to pay back. What's your thoughts on that, V? So this guy comes along and every time he's saying he wants a loan, or he might even ask you for a loan, he have a small loan to pay off and debt and thing real hard right now, COVID times. And even before COVID, everybody used COVID as an excuse, but even before COVID, they always wanted a loan and they always want money borrowed and they never pay back. Do you think that's a red flag? That's something that jumps out at you?
Oh yeah, definitely. And probably not just from me, but what if they borrow from their parent so frequently that you really have to ask yourself what's going on. And if this happens, as you said, on a regular basis, it will make me think about his money management and lack of budgeting skills. You know what I mean? And for us together, I don't think we'll be able to really save together. And I think we would not be on the same level as it comes to our financial goals. So this is definitely a red flag for me.
Yeah, another red flag that I find very interesting is that if the person always asks you, so how much money you make? So why are you making so much money? You can't give me some money. In other words, they're trying to, one, manipulate you, and two, control your money. That's a red flag.
Definitely. And the flip side to that, which is also a red flag, is when they refuse to talk about their finances.
Yeah, so they're secretive about their money, but they want to know all about yours. That's definitely a red flag,
You know why? Go ahead.
No, tell me why. I want to know why.
because it can be an indicator of they're trying to retain some kind of financial control. Correct. Think about it. Or they may be embarrassed, or they may be unable to manage money.
Yeah. Another one is just like simple. You may be dating someone or in a courtship, and every time you go by them, the Wi-Fi, they forget to pay the Wi-Fi bill. You send them a text message, it's only one tick because they forget, and then they go to digital and boy, you go cut me for that small amount of money, and they blame everybody but themselves. In other words, payment of bills and how they manage their utility bills and the others, whether they are being cut by T and Tech. Believe it or not, people are still being disconnected for not paying their light bill and stuff like that. Or they always have to move from house to house because of problems with paying their rent. So all those things, we are not saying it's conclusive evidence that they are financially unstable, but we are saying that it is evidence that can be used for you to ask further questions.
I have one for you as well.
Yes.
Refusing to split the bill when we go out. Do you think that's a red flag?
Well, it depends on who. If you invite me out, they tell me, let me go here. You understand? Or the truth is this, the truth is this. I am somebody, if you invite me out, I will tell you, listen, the reason why I cannot go out with you because I have no money. And if you say to me, don't worry about money, then we're good to go. If we are honest about that conversation before. But refusing to pay the bill, sure.
I'm not talking about the first date. I want you to think of it also in the first 4 or 5 dates.
Yeah.
Right? And there is a little inclination towards sharing the expenses.
Well, the question is, why are you, somebody might say, you on date number 5 and you paying for all of that. You didn't know to run from before. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, if the person always have to go to the bathroom or always have an itch when it comes to paying of a bill, therefore you need to, you need to be honest. And I think one of the things we so assign gender roles in terms of when it comes to money, nothing is wrong with a man saying, listen, I want to share this experience with you. I really want to be in your presence, but the place you selected does not fit my financial capacity at this point in time. 1, can we change the location? Or 2, if you want to really go there, you will have to foot the bill. And that is what about being honest is all about, and just understanding that if you don't have money today, doesn't make you less of a man. Since when money determines manhood,
Yeah. Just a few other red flags is that you may lie, you or him, may lie about money. So that person may lie about their money.
Yeah.
They may be living a flashy lifestyle and buying expensive gifts. They may not be able to retain a job for long, right? So you're looking at your probability of financial stability. And another one that I made note of is that they follow investment tips blindly. Like you must have a conversation about things like that. Yeah.
Definitely. So I think the whole lying issue is very important, because a lot of us, when we are in love, people could sell us anything. So somebody will say, no, well, I have an airplane or I have boat down the island. You never see it, but you believe in the story for 3 years and you fall in love. And when it's time to find the boat never existed. So it's important for you to really do your own investigation, like be wise. One of the things I always say about dating and courtship and stuff, don't play. This is about your life. Don't play with it, and don't be blinded. Ask the questions, be critical. So you want to buy me a trip to Canada for us to spend vacation, but you're not working, but you have outstanding loans. Where getting that money from? That maths not mathsing. It's not making sense. How come? Just don't say, oh, he loves me, and you just, oh, we're going to Canada. Ask those questions, because those are red flags that can save your entire life, and may I say a generation, because children may just become involved. And you may have a child having a dad or a mom who has bad financial practices that can lead to serious challenges going down the road.
Yeah, I like that. The maths not maths then, right?
Yeah,
so Chad, tell me, so we looked at some of the red flags, okay?
Yeah.
So then how can we initiate, how can persons initiate the conversation about finance?
I think that's so important, because so many times we talk about everything else. So we spend a night together. When I say a night together, I mean a night talking or liming together, and the issue of finance or making those observations are not there. So for me, in the dating experience, I think there should be more observations as opposed to direct questions. Or there can be observation and general questions about finance to have an understanding of what that person's mindset is, how they have been socialized. So you are in the fact-finding stage and you are gathering evidence to determine whether or not you want to transition to courtship and more so into marriage. Some of the ways in which you could initiate that conversation is just asking general questions like, what does financial independence, what does that mean for you? How do you interpret that? And a response, for example, will mean that, boy, money is not really something that is made to save and think. I like to enjoy life. Life is to be enjoyed. And so once I get my money and we're happy, we could. That response unearths so many different layers that you can now further explore.
Yeah, definitely. And then you can also ask from earlier on in the relationship or even from the dating phase, what are your plans for the next 5 years? Like what are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals? And I know it can seem very cliche, like what are your short-term and long-term goals? But you are asking those questions with the focus on finance. What are you planning to do with your money? And that gives you an idea as to what's going on in their mind.
Yeah. Also, just asking general question. If the person is by their parents, so you plan to live with your parents for how long? If you are renting, do you plan to own your own property? And so you're asking that question to see whether or not their response is in alignment with their actions. Because if they are saying to you they want to have their own home and they're always spending in a manner that doesn't signal that, therefore it could be a red flag for you and you can do some assessment. So you're just asking general questions about finance, and so from that you can get so much rich data for you to make an assessment of whether you want to continue that relationship with the person or not.
Right. And as we're talking about finance, I do want to stick this in here that generational wealth can be acquired. And even as a single person, this is something you can still work towards. Now, what is generational wealth? It's assets, right? Such as house savings or investment accounts that can be passed down to one's family's members and generally continue to benefit them over time. Right. So as a single man or woman, there are some things we can start to do from now as we seek to acquire generational wealth. So some persons may inherit a piece of land from their grandparents or so. That is a form of generational wealth, right? For those who may not, but wants to start right now with their future in mind, you can first choose to change your money mindset, right? Because if your mind is not well, then you are at a higher risk of being incapable of working and having the capacity to generate wealth, right? So you want to start to save for retirement. Think about that. Think about your retirement. Think about the annuity plans. Ask about it. Ask your insurance agencies about their annuity plans. Ask yourself if you think it's a good thing that you register your annuity plan or you keep it unregistered. You see, when your annuity plan is registered, then you would have, then you're tied to the government in that sense. But when it's unregistered, you can access that at any time. So that is something you want to have in your mind when you are asking or talking to your insurance agency and stuff about it. Life insurance. You go ahead, Chad.
No, I just wanted to go back. I think you raised some very important points there in terms of saving and different important investments that we can make. But I think Rashida Glasgow raised a very important question. If we could just go back a bit, she spoke about men do not like to be questioned. And that's interesting that you said that. For me, though, when we talk about, if I can put some context about having those conversations like this, asking what does financial independence look like, you are not interrogating someone. You are having a conversation, and perhaps it may be, I'm not saying that your point doesn't have validity and this may happen in circumstances, but let it be a normalized conversation, just as how you would talk about other topics in a dating relationship. Normalize the conversation about finance in your relationship. And it don't have to be, your approach doesn't have to be, I'm interrogating you about your money. Because for some people, money brings or evokes so many unpleasant experiences and emotions. And you also want to be emotionally sensitive to that reality as well, to see where somebody at. For some people, once you bring up the topic of money, they get immediately angry. Some people, they get emotional in various ways, various emotions surface. So you want to be able to create that environment, that enabling environment where somebody can be free to talk about their finances. Maybe they may be intimidated by you. So is working in big ministry and thing, and I don't have a ministry job but we like each other. But I do have that insecurity there. So once she began to ask me about money, I begin to feel less of a person and I naturally become defensive. So you have to be aware of all those realities as you seek to have that conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for just, taking the time to answer Rashida's question. That's so important. I just wanted to go back to the point on generational wealth and, some examples of doing so and accumulating such. Say, for example, your life insurance, right? And I want you to think of it this way. Yes, we know your life insurance is there in the event of your death, but what about asking your life insurance about a 20-year insurance policy, as opposed to you taking it way until? And I think that will also lower your premium. And you actually get the monies that you're saving. Now, we can't go into all the nitty-gritties of it right now, but there are so many ways of working around to make your money actually work for you. So I just want to give you some advice. Talk to your insurance agent and ask them about another insurance policy, in that it may not extend itself until you die, but you can still get your returns and even your savings for a shorter period of time. There are ways of doing those things. And also sticking to your budget, also invested in the stock market. I mean, UTC, I know someone was asking about the banks before, GMMB. There are banks you can directly go into and purchase stocks. The mutual money market fund. You could really let your money work for you. And you can start small, and as I said before, bit by bit by bit. And I know we want to talk about prenups as well quickly, but Chad, I don't know if you wanted to say anything on generational wealth again before.
No, I think you have covered it, because I know we are moving towards 3:30. So in the interest of time, I guess we can move on.
Yeah, so I mean, we had the question with prenups sometime. A prenuptial agreement, or prenup for short, is really a written contract created by two people before they get married, right? It typically lists all of the property each person owns, as well as any debts, and specifies what each person's property rights will be after the marriage. However, in the context of Trinidad and Tobago, I don't think our legal system has allowances for prenups, right? I don't think so, but we can write a will. There's a will, right? But the whole concept of a prenup, Chad, is that although it may not be the legal system may not be able to facilitate here, the mindset behind a prenup is quite interesting. Why would you want a prenup before you get married?
Well, the idea is that I really want to protect my assets. So I'm entering into this relationship, and you see that with a lot of superstars, they have millions and millions of dollars, and they know sometimes there's this feeling that somebody may have hidden agendas to marry, to subsequently divorce, and then make claim. So you're saying, listen, we are entering into this relationship, and so I want to protect my assets. The question is, when I am going into a relationship, when the two become one, should there be protection of assets? And there are different perspectives. I know the church has its own perspective on the matter. And so it's up for a lot of discussions.
Yeah, and the church perspective is that the prenup is not necessary, right? Because
it's not something that it endorses. And I could understand why, because you see, if you are going into a marriage, because marriage is, a lot of us treat marriage as a contract. A contract is simply where two parties enter most times, and you have terms in the agreement. And if I breach the contract, if I breach the terms that I should abide by, there's a breach of contract. But a marriage is a covenant. And a covenant means that if I breach a term, the covenant remains. Yeah? So that's the fundamental difference between it. And sometimes we treat marriage as a contractual agreement or arrangement between two parties. And it's something, the mindset behind prenups I wonder at times whether it undermines the commitment that is required.
Call for marriage.
Yeah, and the mindset that is required to go into a marriage. Because if I'm thinking about entering a marriage with the possibility of failing, when this ought to be a covenant, a lifelong commitment, then we may have some challenges there that needs to be worked out.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I also think it may undermine the process of reaching to the stage of making the decision that this is the person I want to get married to. You know what I mean? And that is why I just want to just put this in here. That's why it's so important that you don't do the premarital counseling 3 months before you get married, but you try to do premarital counseling, even pre-engagement counseling. You know what I mean? So you really get to explore certain themes and all of these various topics with your potential partner.
You know, there's a little point that, you know, in terms of courting and dating, well, courtship and that kind of thing, there is no real success or failure of courtship. You know, courtship is just to determine whether the will of God is for our lives to be united forever. And sometimes it may be discovered that that's just not the case, you know, but it's an exercise in exploring what the will of God is. And so once we understand that that's what we're doing, the answer may be yes is the will of God, or it may be no. And we must be prepared to take that response from God. I'm not saying at all that we must be devoid of the reality that it brings heartache and pain and that kind of thing. But I think we must approach courtship for just what it is. You know, there's no guarantees that I will marry you in courtship.
Yeah, I just wanted to say my last point on the generational wealth. And as we're talking about the prenup as well, not generational wealth, the prenup, although it may not be binding here in Trinidad, the will is. So you can write a will, right? And doing so doesn't mean you will die. That's a myth. People think that if I write a will, I'm going to die. No, a will is a gift you leave for your family or loved ones. It is a gift because it makes the management of your estate very clear and life years easier. Okay, so this is something you also can consider. How am I going to distribute and manage the things that I have, and who am I going to give it to? Yeah. So as we
totally
conclude,
agree.
We just
totally
want to
agree. So I don't know if we just have a few questions that we want to take as we wrap up. If there's any outstanding question, at least from the YouTube platform, we can find out.
Currently, we would have said to you all the questions that we would have seen. If I see questions popping up, I'd let you know. But we want to give persons who are in the Zoom chat opportunity to open up your mic and ask questions. I know that we were dealing with questions as we went along. Same thing from the YouTube chat and from the Zoom chat. But we are here to facilitate as much as possible. So you can raise your hand and we'll give you an opportunity to ask a question, because we're actually growing as singles in understanding financial stability, looking at the red flags, and our guest speakers are here to serve. Anyone, any questions? Or were they so thorough that you could just sit back and absorb the information provided? Any questions? So I saw one question in the Zoom chat previously, and the person asked that if we are together and a person doesn't pay back the money, and their interpretation of is that I don't pay you back because we are together, is that a red flag to be aware of? Patricia or Chadwick?
Yes, could you just quickly repeat that question for me, please?
No problem. A person is saying that they're dating at this point in time and they have lent out money to the person that they're dating. And when they inquire to get back the money, the person says, we are together. There's no need for me to pay you back. Is that a red flag?
Yes, it is a red flag. And I would say continue to be very observant of things like these. And you, if it continues, you see, because that's an indication of a very controlling attitude. And you may reach the point where if it continues and it persists, things like this don't get better, they get worse with time. As the person feel comfortable with you, they tend not only to do this with finances, but in other areas as well. And if you continue to allow it to happen, then you can be viewed as that walkover person that is, it's so easy to get by doing these things to you. And I would say, while it's early, run, leave that relationship.
But more importantly, though, I'm just very curious with regards to the question, like, how did you manage to lend that person money? How did we arrive there? Because if I'm just dating you and you are making financial requests, why did I give in to that? And it may mean that I have to do some introspection as well, because yes, it's good to look at the other person. Yeah, we recognize that person has some challenges there, but me willingly give into lending money, and I guess there's a story behind it, but you willingly give into money may also tell us a very powerful story about your own self that you need to make some assessment about.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. That's so powerful, that last point that you made, Chadwick. So I'm seeing here from J.A. Roberts, what about stating some options for investment into the stocks in Trinidad and Tobago? Would you be able to provide that information? And also from same person, J.A. Roberts, most of us are single. Could you give some suggestions for growing your money as a single adult? Keisha and Chadwick, the floor is yours.
Let me tell you, can I just share a personal experience? For me, in terms of me growing my money as a single person, you have to understand, sometimes we look at other people, but we need to understand that being single brings advantages, yes? One of them is that you just have to take care most times, all things being equal, about taking care of your own self. And so you want to assess and determine what are the advantages, financial advantages that I have or I possess as a single person that I can use to my benefit. In my personal case, for example, I spend a lot of time in my parents' home for quite a long time. And a lot of people will say, oh gosh, it's a big man in your mother's house. But I had a plan in mind, which is to get own property eventually. And so you want to see, for example, you are still home, you are still single. How can I use that to my advantage? And I'm saying this to simply say that a lot of us, if we are honest and if we have that probing conversation, will realize that we have so many gifts and abilities and talents and opportunities as single people to save a lot and do amazing things. So we may be home alone or living with our parents. That's an opportunity to save. You may just have to pay for your own education, or you may have GATE. Why not, while you access GATE, put aside money as if you were paying for GATE? All those different opportunities that we just don't see, but exist, that can lead us to a financial fulfilling experience as well.
Yeah, definitely. And one way we could practically do that, let's look at our spending from the month before. Let's go into our bank statements. Let's see where the $2 went to. Let's see where the extra interest charges went to. Let's see, all these little things, and let's add up those expenses and really see if we don't spend that this month or the month thereafter, how much money we can really allocate towards our savings. Because it's like a down and dirty work, to be honest, especially at the beginning, but once you begin that discipline, it becomes easier and easier. And I know, Kathy, you had that question, J. Roberts, what about stating some options regarding investments into stock in TNT? As I was mentioning before, JMMB, they have stocks. So if you go to their site, or you probably make a call or send an email, they will send you an entire list of their stocks that they have available, prices that they go for, and probably the minimum amount you can buy. So the information is really there and it's really accessible.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's always good to get some financial consultation, right? Because if you recognize that you're not strong in something, you can actually go to someone whose specialty or is finance, and you will get a lot of information. We're in an information age. Everything, I don't want to say in this instance that Google is your friend. It's not that way, but we have experts that can guide you accordingly. So we have a question on the floor. If we choose a partner based on what they can provide, wouldn't the provider have concerns about the intention of the other? That is coming from Christopher Gomez.
Chad, why are you feeling like you're waiting for me to answer this question first? So
No, I am actually reading the question because I want to get the context of what
yeah, that's I'm trying to figure it out too.
The thing about it, and I'll just make this covering statement. The thing about it is that when you enter into a relationship with someone and you are serious, it's not so much about you providing, it's about I providing for you and you providing for me. In other words, we are concerned, our primary objective is about fulfilling each other's needs and not about myself. So it's not about you coming to the table in this very selfish way, what you're doing for me, and you don't bring anything. So it has to be where we both have that conversation about what our needs are and how we both can help each other reach that particular destination. So it's definitely not about you coming to say, provide for me, as if you are some opportunist. And also, providing don't also need to be physical, be financial. In many cases, in growing up, you would know people being housewives or what do you call it? It's housewives. Exactly. So that somebody's contribution in the household in terms of preparing meals, washing, all those domestic chores as well, they do have a value. You know, so those are things that we must also look at. Somebody's ability to manage a household. You are actually a manager, CEO. You understand? You might have a staff depending upon how much children you have. If you have 5 children, you have a staff of 6 people and more. You know, so in terms of being able to provide, it's not just about financial, but it's about different skill sets that's being brought to the table. And one
tangible and intangible.
Yeah,
value.
and so one person shouldn't just be coming to say, you know, how much money you have, that kind of thing. I don't think that's a godly approach at all.
Indeed, because we barter things that are tangible and intangible in value. And though they may seem like that, they all have some sort of cost, because you may, let's take for instance, just the sale of an item. All right, I am buying food from somebody, they're providing that food for me, but that food comes at a cost. Now those things happen in the home, but we sometimes don't look at it from that perspective. And I have 2 last questions here. One from Andy Joseph, where he says, if I want to proactively save, is it that I should auto save a certain percentage of my salary or save at the end? What are your suggestions?
Definitely, that's a really lovely question. We see it come up time and time again. There is, you know, that 20% rule as it relates to your savings, Andy. So if you're saving, you want to save probably around the 20% of your salary allocated towards savings. But I always say, if there are other areas that you indeed could but save on, you could bump that up to 30%, 35%, have you? But as I was saying, selling, for those who may not be able to, I want you to look at the things around you. Look at the extra shoes you may have, the extra clothes in your closet, the things that you can put on a garage sale, you know what I mean? And get that income coming in and put that towards your emergency fund. Sell what you don't need. Get rid of the books that you have there that you say that you're going to read probably, and yet you just haven't started reading it for about a year plus. So be practical with it. Get rid of those things, garage sale, put them on Facebook, on Instagram, get them out. Take those funds and put it towards your emergency fund.
All right, that's such an insight. And our last question, and as y'all are talking, the YouTube page people are talking about the fact that they are very glad that Chadwick made that comment, because modern men always think that women want a relationship to use them. It's about having each other's best interests, and you should want to provide, etc., etc. So I have coming in from Miss Roberts here. What are your views on bulk buying? Can this be a roadway to some sort of financial stability and saving? That's a very interesting question.
Well, if bulk buying, she says, right? So we're talking about places like PriceSmart, etc. Yeah?
Yes.
Is that what she meant? Well, I mean, if it works for you, you need to determine if you're single, and it may be that you're living with other people or you're living by yourself, you need to determine whether it makes sense. Because if you're constantly buying bulk and it spoils, for example, then you're wasting money. But if you realize that you can actually have a saving, and that's why you need to sit down and put some thought behind it. If you discover that there can be tremendous savings by bulk buying, things are lasting longer, you're saving more money in the context of inflation, then go right ahead and bulk buy. So that's an excellent way of looking at ways in which you can have saving, as opposed to every time going into the parlor next door to you to buy something, because most times the parlor next door understandably will have it at a higher price.
Yeah, definitely. And one way you could really track that, Chad, as you're saying that, you can have a calendar tracker. You know what I mean? Have a calendar just for those things. Have a different color highlighters representing different items, and check off, when did this finish? How long did this last for? You know what I mean? And keep it at a suitable place that you can access it, whether it's on your fridge or wherever. But you have to be intentional with tracking these things. And I think that's one of the ways where we don't really pay attention. We think we will do it and we keep it in our heads, but we need to put it on paper.
Indeed. And what wonderful insight that you all have given today. And there's so much in store when we discuss finances. Now, we know that upcoming is our budget this Monday. And our budget tells us a lot, helps us chart our way to understand the economics of things, even us as singles and our finances. To help us navigate this ideology of our budget, we are having another talk on finance, part 2 of what happened today. And it's specific to our single millionaire that could be you. Sometimes as a single, and we're trying to create generational wealth, we don't think about these things. That me as a single, Chad said it, you have some advantages in terms of how you manage your money. You have the ability to save, especially those persons who maybe have the luxury of being home, etc. There's so many different things that we can think about from the single perspective. So let's dive in with Pastor Michael Charles and his dynamic team upcoming Sunday on discussions about single millionaire that could be you. Please, this is going to be intensive. It's almost like a workshop. So get ready, and you will find all our information about this specific topic on Facebook and Instagram. So to Chadwick and Vakisha, what are your final thoughts that you will leave, your closing statement? If you had to make an elevator pitch to us, what would you say directly to us?
Okay, I think Vakisha wants me to go first, so I'll go. I think the conversation about finance should be a conversation that you anticipate, that you normalize in your experiences when it comes to dating and when it comes to courtship, because Your financial health will determine the quality of your marriage. You do not begin, quality of a marriage doesn't commence when you say I do. It starts in how you manage your finances as a single person. So I want us to spend time when we are dating, when we are courting, to look for those red flags, to ask not just questions, but ask the right questions so that when we enter into a marriage, we won't have those financial troubles that we don't want, but we can enjoy other areas of our marriage and ensure that we leave a good legacy when we depart this earth.
Thank you, Chadwick. Patricia?
Yes, I will cover the spiritual aspect. The power of wealth is subtle. The source of wealth is secure. The temptation of wealth is spending. The strategy of wealth is saving. The purpose of wealth is sharing. I want all of us to remember that we are not to underestimate the power of God to create something out of nothing. It's never too late. Once we have God in the middle of all of our affairs, He will definitely guide us and lead us and show us exactly what can be done, whether we be single and whether we find ourselves in relationships.
What a way to end. I couldn't say it any better. I don't even have final thoughts. That was the way that we should end. And we are grateful, single people loving and serving Him, Splash, Aruka Seventh-day Adventist Singles Ministry, to have Vakisha and Chadwick with us today, diving into the topic, Young, Dumb, and Broke. Hopefully we all have learned, we have grown, our mentalities have changed, and we're ready to move forward positively, taking those tips, taking those guidelines, changing our mindset, learning to evaluate who we are, what kind of money personalities we are experiencing, and try to make the changes. Little by little, we're going to get there. And we're ready to become single millionaires in the future. Stability, being able to cover your expenses, being able to have something to save, as they said in the beginning. Stability looks different for most people, but let's just aim to be better singles and stewards of our finances. We say thanks to our IT tech. We say thanks to our church. We say thanks to all our guests and our special music, and to you, the audience, for joining with us today. Convention has been a blast. Till we meet again, let's all sit back and listen to some music. Have a good afternoon.
There's a quiet place that gives me peace when I'm alone with you. And there's a hiding place. Your spirit's always there when I'm confused. Oh, only you can purify all this world won't ever satisfy my heart. It cries as the deer pants for the water, so my soul needs you, Lord. Oh yeah, thirsty God, you're the living water, and my soul needs you, Lord. I need you, Lord. I need you, Lord. I need you, Lord. I need you, Lord. I'm a stranger here, thirsty 'cause I know it's not my home. like a desert here. I need your living word for these dry bones. Oh, Jesus, fill us up again with your presence flowing deep within. New life begins as the deer pants for the water, so my soul needs you, Lord. Thirsty God, you're the living water, and my soul needs you, Lord. Oh yes, as the deer pants for the water, Lord, my soul needs you, Lord. Oh, thirsty God, you're the living water. My soul needs you, Lord. I need you, Lord. I need you, Lord. Every day and every hour, I need you, Lord. I need you, Lord. Quench our hearts and fill this space with heaven like a flood. Holy One, rain down on us with your consuming love. Oh, quench our hearts and fill this space with heaven like a flood. Oh, Holy One, rain down on us with your consuming love. As the deer pants for the water, my soul needs you, Lord. Yes, when thirsty God, you're living water. My soul needs you, Lord. Oh, as the deer pants for the living water, every day, Lord, I need you, Lord. Yeah, thirsty God, you're the living water. My soul needs you, Lord. I need you, Lord. Nobody else but you, Lord. I need you, Lord. I need you, Lord. I need you, Lord. Ooh. Oh, need you, Lord. I